After Dinner Show with me, Jeremy Nicholas, brought to you tonight by Barnard Castle Opticians for when you want to see clearly now that the rain has gone. My guest tonight, Shelley Bridgman, is a psychotherapist, hypnotherapist and speaker who's been mugged in 5 different countries. Claire Boyles is a marketing specialist who lived in Germany when the wall came down, in Belfast when the peace treaty was signed, and in London when Brexit happened, but she denies responsibility for Brexit. And Maddy Anholt is a comedian, actress, writer, and twin, but that doesn't define her. No, he's a boy, and so they can't be identical. Welcome to you all. Hello.
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 So,
hi.
For those that haven't seen the show before, there's just one rule. You have to have had your dinner. Can I just check everyone's had their dinner?
Yes.
Brilliant. And then I ask all of my guests to tell me a true story live from first-hand experience. So just confirm you all have a story for me. But what I usually do is mess around a bit before we actually get into that. So Maddy, let's just kick off with you. You're a twin. So what's that like?
I mean, good. The reason that I put in there that yes, he's a boy, no, we're not identical, is because of the amount of times I'm asked for it and the amount of castings I get through that say, oh, we're looking for twins. And then they say, are you identical? And I'll say, no, he's a boy. And they'll say, yeah, I know, but are you identical? And then I have to tell how to breakfast biology. So being a twin is great. My twin is currently stuck in Berlin. He's an artist, brilliant artist, tomanholt.com. And it's lovely. We don't see each other that much really anymore, which is a shame, but we definitely had the twin instinct when we were growing up. Like there were a lot of times when something would happen to me and he would, weirdly know about it, and something would happen to him and I would really know about that.
So if he fell over now, would you feel a twinge?
Yeah, it's just done that.
Okay. And Claire, just tell me this amazing run of luck of being in places when things have then gone on to happen.
Yeah. I grew up in Germany. My dad worked over there, so I spent 13 years of my childhood living in Germany. I don't speak German fluently, and neither do I English, apparently. That's where my weird accent comes from. So I've picked up different words and phrases from people that I went to school with and hung out with from all around the world. And my dad's from Belfast, so that's how I eventually ended up there. And moved to Dublin, lived in Dublin for 10 years, and then London since 2011.
And I've known you for many years, and I always like to play the try and guess which accent you're using, because it depends on how much you've had to drink and how angry you are as to how much Belfast comes in. Well, you, Jeremy, what's going on here? And then it gets a bit more whimsical when you get the Republic. Yeah. And then sometimes there's like a West Country one where I don't think you've even lived in the West Country.
I was thinking West Country. I could hear that.
Yeah. Everybody says that. Spent 6 weeks of my life there. I went to Glastonbury, and that's it.
That's it. And of course, Maddy, you know all about, you grew up, was it in Dorset or Devon?
Devon, Glastonbury, 11 times, baby. I'm a hippie child.
Yeah,
of course.
But where your family from? It's sort of Devon Dorset borders,
it's isn't it? It's like the border. So I grew up just outside Lyme Regis, and in a little place called Uplyme. Now my parents live in just outside Collerton. So I normally try and get back at least once a month when I can, just to get out of the city.
And Shelley, just tell me this about being mugged in 5 different countries. Do you think you've just been very unlucky?
No, I think I wear a stat that says gullible when I'm moving around anywhere. But they're quite, so one was in Moscow, which was a bit scary because I went to report it, and it was in what used to be the KGB headquarters. And when I was ushered into this room, and a man sort of pushed a packet of cigarettes across, and I felt I was being interrogated. So anyway, it turned out when I gave a description, he said, "Oh yes, we have a deaf and dumb team of thieves operating in Moscow at the minute." How he quite knew they were deaf and dumb, I've no idea. So I do seem to attract people to me for the wrong reason. But
desperately trying to work out how a deaf and dumb team would work and who would have.
Well, I have no idea.
In the role,
because they didn't actually speak to me, But realizing I was a tourist, when you got your head up in the air walking across Red Square with a camera.
Oh, pretty things.
It's fairly obvious, really, isn't it, that that you're not there as a local. So I just think I would say it was carelessness. And Oscar Wilde made some quote, didn't he, about, do something more than once, it's very careless. So, but I think it's.
I don't think I know the quote. I'm not sure that you do, really.
No, I didn't try to do you verbatim, did I? I did try.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Let's not go there. We can look it up in a minute. But anyway,
what is it again? Just have another stab at it, because I feel like we've only heard a few words of it so far.
I think something about coincidence. If it's more than once, and if it's 3 times, it's carelessness, isn't it? Dig out your oracle there. Google it, Jeremy, because you're obviously
I think
if you don't know.
Is it from the play where the to lose one parent is
something like that? The importance of
it's
being
unfortunate to lose both is careless.
Yeah, I think it was Lady Bracknell.
Lady Bracknell
secretly harboured an ambition to play Lady Bracknell, on stage. So
yeah,
I feel I've got the grandiose personality to do.
Yeah. Okay.
You're not sure about that, are you?
Well, I'm just not sure how that quote really fits in, but it's
convinced.
Thanks for sharing that. Now today I have been to Kew Gardens, the Royal Botanic Gardens at Kew. Now you probably think,
lovely.
What?
Is it open?
Well, obviously there wouldn't be much.
He broke in.
It's a great big wall, and I just peered over.
Jeremy, don't say obviously. We're in a world pandemic. I don't
understand. You've been rather harsh with your guests today, I feel, Jeremy.
I think I might be.
This lady's had the.
Have another whiskey.
Hang on.
Been good enough
Let me just channel my inner Graham Norton.
I think he's feeling overpowered by 3 women. It's really unusual.
Feeling insecure.
3 women and 1.
The whiskey's going down in great quantity.
But do continue.
Jem grew up with sisters. She's all right with women.
I grew up with 3 sisters, so this is
normal.
To battle to get my voice heard. Yeah. My big challenge at home growing up was finding someone to talk to about football with, rather than makeup and dresses. So anyway, I went to Kew Gardens, and of course it was closed. So there was this, and I just peered over the wall and went, please. And then this man came out and shouted, "Get off my land!" Now, of course it was open. Of course it was open. And I got, here's my little, here's my Kew card. Look, there it is. Here's my Kew card.
I believe you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think in the middle of a pandemic, it's quite a reasonable question for somebody to ask you, is it open?
Gardens,
the fact that he was there gave that clue away.
The whole world's been closed for 2 months.
It's gardens. It's outside. Right. Okay. So here's the thing. I'm a member at Kew Gardens. I go once a week just to walk around, just to relax, like I have done today, and that's why I'm so calm. So otherwise, I get a little bit shirty sometimes. So on Monday, it opened for the first time since lockdown. Okay, but they have a system, so you have to have a one-way system. You're only allowed to go in Victoria Gate and Brentford Gate, and you're only allowed to come out of Brentford Gate and Lion Gate and Elizabeth. It doesn't matter. The point is, you go in one gate, you come out another one, and it's a one-way system, and it's members only. And it was very nice, but of course none of the glass houses are open, none of the restaurants, none of the cafes are open. But I had a nice time, and there wasn't much of a queue. So
was that your feeling?
That's my
I was expecting something to happen, Jem. The way you ferociously fought at that story, I was like, wow, what happened?
I just wanted to get to that cracking punchline. It wasn't much of a queue because there was not many things open, but there was a lot. I took some pictures. I was going to share them, but I'm not going to because it's fine.
Well, we're clearly not interested. So
no, you're clearly not. Right. Let's kick off with a cracking story, and I'm going to go to Claire because she's the one giving me the least grief.
So Claire, Jem's biggest fan. I laugh at all his jokes. That's why he likes
all my stuff.
Claire, don't do that, darling. There's more work to be done than that, sweetheart. Let's make them work.
Yeah. So Claire, you used to live in Belfast. That must have been a lot of fun. Tell us a story about your old Belfast days.
Oh, let me think of a story. Oh, I could tell you about the time. There's a hotel in Belfast, and its claim to fame is that it is the most bombed hotel in Europe. I think, I can't remember how many times, but it's been bombed, exploded more times than any other hotel in Europe. And it's 13 stories high.
Sorry, can I
And
just check? So do a lot of people ask to stay there because it's the most bombed place? Do they go on TripAdvisor and go, no, I want the one that's been bombed the absolute most? Which one is that? No, not that one. The one that's been, I think it's about 13 times. Is it in their advertising?
I'm not sure it's requested, but it is like on their website and stuff. Like, so yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you went there, but not to stay.
No, I lived in Belfast, half a mile away. So I went and I abseiled down all 13 stories of it.
Yeah, abseil down the outside of it.
Mm-hmm.
Crikey.
I'm petrified of heights.
So why did you do that then?
It was supposed to be a good idea. I was told that I should feel the fear and do it anyway. So I did, and it was the most one of the most petrifying experiences of my entire life. It took me about 15 minutes to get over the side of the building. So when you have to lower yourself down with the legs and then when you start going down. Now I've abseiled before. I've abseiled down much smaller cliffs, and it's really fun. It's brilliant fun. But when you abseil down 13 stories, the rope is really, really long, and the further down you get, the stretchier it gets, and the more you kind of wobble around the side of the building. So I spent the whole entire time with my eyes closed and tears streaming down, going down the side of the building. And I raised a lot of money for charity, and I decided I was never going to do anything stupid like feeling the fear and facing it anyway, because I'm still petrified of heights, and that is a ridiculous notion that when you do something that you're afraid of, you're no longer afraid of it.
And what sort of time zone was this? It wasn't in the height of the Troubles, was it?
It was 1997, 98.
Yeah, so the Troubles had sort of finished then, had they?
Yeah, so we weren't expecting the hotel to be bombed at that point, so that was a good thing. Well, I wasn't afraid of that.
Because the way you say it, as though not only was I abseiling, but it was down the most bombed hotel in Belfast, as though people were actually might be throwing missiles at you as you're coming down. But actually it was after it all finished and everything's fine.
That's not as fun when you say that.
No. Well, that's a cracking story to kick us off. Girls, we've got a bit of a bar that's been set there. I think you do make me laugh, though, when you say you're scared of heights, because I really am scared of heights. I am absolutely petrified of heights.
The St Paul's, the Millennium Bridge by St Paul's.
It's right behind me.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was pointing at.
Yeah.
I can't walk across that unless I'm holding onto somebody in the very middle, because I'm petrified the whole way over.
Okay. Well, that's just ridiculous. I can do that. I'll tell you where I struggle, though. The 5th floor of John Lewis's on Oxford Street. When you go, and that's the best floor, isn't it? Because it's got sports goods and electrical goods. So it's like proper place.
And the 5th View restaurant.
Yes, good. So the bar's been set really high. We'll go to the others for stories in a minute, but I just want to clear up something that I've been hearing about, this phenomenon of top halving. People apparently on Zoom calls have been top halving where they don't wear appropriate clothing. So can I just check what you're all doing downstairs? Maddy, do you want to go first? You're looking quite glam up top. Can we just have a look down the bottom?
No, I'm definitely top halving, Jen. You can see this is pajamas. I'm wearing
Okay, yeah, that's good. Shelley, do you want to?
Yeah, likewise, I was a bit afraid that if I started to fall asleep, if the stories were a bit dull.
Okay. Are they pajama bottoms?
When I saw who the guests were, of course, I knew that wouldn't be the case.
Yeah.
So,
and Claire, I'm guessing you've got something blue going on down the stairs, have you? Hang on. Oh, just jeans. That's fine. But yes, it's a whole new phenomenon called top halving. Right, let's go to Shelley now for another story. Shelley, your story, I believe we're leaving Belfast, we're going to Borneo.
Yeah, I was at a convention in Kuala Lumpur a good few years ago now, and I met up with some journalists, and they were arranging to go over to Borneo and do a trek into the jungle. They were doing some research on the Iban Indians, who were former headhunters. So I thought, well, this sounds like a good idea. So
sorry, what were they called? The eBay Indians, did you say?
Iban Indians.
Eban, right? Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds more
And
likely. Yeah.
they live in long houses on stilts, you know, for
Mhm.
rainy season.
Yeah.
Got tattooed faces and big earlobes about that long, you know, with brass rings and so on. So
I know the sort of thing. Yeah.
Anyway, so we went from Kuching and got in this boat, and we were rowing and then having to get up and walk for various bits. So it took about a day to get there. And when we got there, it turned out that these guys had been headhunters, but they're now farmers. And you've got these little pigs running around. And all through.
Sorry, can I just when you say headhunters, you don't mean they were trying to find jobs for people in top city firms?
No, that's exactly what they used to do. Yeah. And if that failed, they'd chop their heads off.
Yeah.
So anyway, thanks for the interjection. You've thrown me now, but that was quite witty as well, Jem. And
Unusually for him.
about 20 seconds that came to you. So anyway, we got there, and there was a Dutch journalist and a German, and these guys just didn't get on. They hated each other. So when we got to this house, there was a ritual, and they put this small pig in a sack. This guy walked over to hand it to me with a spear. And the idea was that you put it on the steps, killed it, and then walk barefoot through the blood up the steps into the building.
Shelley, this is rather an unpleasant twist.
I don't know.
Taken.
Yeah.
It's a good job we're not eating our dinner.
Anyway, I refused to do that. And
my sister watches this and she's vegetarian.
The Dutchman said, look, don't waste a good pig, kill Hans, who was this German guy. Anyway, so we had to pull them apart. And these poor natives, they were wondering what the hell was going on with these two Westerners fighting, trying to kill each other. But anyway, that evening, so it's like about 20 families in this place, and we were given an area. And they were serving up some kind of fermented coconut milk. And we were drinking it. It was quite obvious they were smoking something as well, which was a bit dodgy. Anyway, after about 4 glasses of this stuff, I realised that my legs didn't work anymore. And I was starting to hallucinate. We were all very drunk. And I looked up and I could see skulls come, moving in and out, like this terrible vision. It's like we talked about being a hippie. It was like the worst kind of trip you could imagine on acid. Anyway, so in the morning, I woke up. And by the way, everybody should experience waking up to the sound of the jungle. It's just a most amazing experience. But anyway, in the morning, I woke up, I looked up, and there were skulls up there. I hadn't been hallucinating. And it turned out that these were trophies that this lot had captured from years before. So the moral of the story really is don't drink coconut milk when you're 6 foot off the ground in the longhouse if you don't know where it's come from. But it was quite scary.
It's a good life tip.
And it was an interesting experience. I think the sad thing is now it's probably in a tour brochure somewhere, going back about 25 years. But it was good fun. But I thoroughly recommend going there. The experience of being in the jungle was just amazing. So anyway, and the coconut milk did taste quite nice, but it's just that it stopped my legs working.
That is the only thing. They do put that on the packet. Then they go, symptoms include your legs may not work.
I thought for a minute we were being drugged and going to get robbed, But anyway, they were the nicest people possible, despite the fact that they had a habit of keeping heads that they boiled up and stuck on a stick.
So apart from the cutting people's heads off, you would say they were lovely people.
Well, I think it was probably their ancestors rather than them.
Yeah.
I don't suppose that you'd get in a tourist brochure, really, would you, if you were worried that you might lose your head?
No.
But
if you're doing a review on TripAdvisor, you'd say something like, other than the fact that they sometimes cut your head off, lovely people.
I would say go, but don't.
Most decapitated people in the world.
Don't drink the coconut milk.
Don't drink the coconut milk. And I like the idea that they're called the eBay tribe, and every time they make a sale, they go ka-ching. But it wasn't that. It was
but that's not what they're called. But if it goes with the joke, then stay with it.
Let's go with that. I'm getting a hard time from everyone, aren't I? Now, before we go to Maddy's story, I just want to share a top tip with you. I don't know if anyone ever watches the program Would I Lie to You? It's fantastic family entertainment, isn't it? With Lee Mack and David Mitchell and Rob Brydon in a marvellous little sort of triangle of humour that goes on there. And I like every week to play along with my wife, and I have a system to make sure that I win. And I thought I'll share that system with you, and you can all then beat your friends pretty much consistently using this system. So
Brilliant, because I
one,
never know when they're lying. Can never tell.
no, well, that's kind of the point of the show, isn't it? To try and work out when they're lying. Yeah,
I never can. I'm dying for your tip, because it's going to be really useful for me now.
And you might get there in a minute, Jan. You'll be
might get there. So this is what you do. First of all, so they get the little cards, don't they? And they've never seen it before. Now, if they are a comedian, then it will be a lie, because they know a comedian will be able to improvise and make up the lie. If it's an actor, you know how actors are a bit stupid, aren't they, compared to comedians? Maddie, you've got a foot in both camps, so I'm appealing to your comedian side here. Just suddenly remembered Maddie's an actor. Actors, they're not as clever, are they? They're just usually good looking and just, you know, good at learning lines, but no wit or spontaneity about them at all. So they won't have the ability to make up a lie. So that's, just remember those things. If it's an actor, it'll always be true, because they'll have to stick to stuff they know. And if it's a comedian, it will always be a lie, because they can improvise. So that's rule number one. Rule number two, when it's the mystery guest, you know, that this is my, and they say the person coming on, do you know that round when they say this is my, and they say this is my tennis partner who once did this, or this is person I was at school with, and there's three options. So first of all, always forget the captain, that it won't be the captain, it won't be David Mitchell's friend or Lee Mack's friend ever, because they've done 11, 13, I don't know how many series. They've run out of friends and people, you know, because they know each other well, they have dinner parties at each other's house, they would know. So it's never going to be them. So it'll either be the person nearest or the person furthest away. Pretty much always it's the person furthest away. Okay, pretty much always, because they don't want him sitting right next to the person, otherwise they'll see the chemistry there. So that's just something else to bear in mind. Now, I use this system. So remember, it's never the captain, it's always the person furthest away. And if it's a comedian, it's always a lie. If it's an actor, it's always true. I have used that system against my wife, and I win about 40% of the time. So it's a cracking
40%?
system.
That's
About
not
40% of the time. No, she wins 60% of the time, but she uses ability. But I have a system, and I just thought I'd share that with you.
Oh, well, I'd rather hear what your wife
Woohoo!
said.
I feel my life is enriched.
Hashtag celebrate all successes. That's 40%.
Yay.
That's fabulous.
No, but do try that. I've used that with great success. Otherwise, I was consistently getting only 20% wins. Now I'm up to 4. I've doubled my winning percentage
Well done.
using that.
Woohoo!
Right. Let's go to Maddie for your true story, which I believe is quite a brutal story, actually.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, after Shirley's, I don't know that I can top that. That was exceptional. She's a comedy goddess. But mine, she's exceptional. I want to do a 2-woman show with her. Mine is that, no, I'm not joking, I do. So I was training for the marathon after a really shitty, sorry, I've forgotten, I'm not allowed to swear, crap breakup. So I was not in a very good place. I was not, Jem, don't get me on. I was not in a very good place. I shouldn't have been, but I was like doing that thing that you do when you come out of breakups where you're like, oh, I need to make myself better. I need to do all the things. I need to cut my hair. I need to whatever. And so I'd taken on a personal trainer, and I was doing the London Marathon. Worst mistake ever. Worst idea I've ever had. Anyway, and London Marathon, I was training, about 12 weeks, but I trained a lot longer. I was very tired. I was also moving house at the same time. I had a lot on. And this personal trainer, I'd gone to the gym just to do some stretching, and he saw me and he was like, hey, let's go to the park in Brixton and let's do a little workout. And I said, no, I can't. And this guy was about 5'4". Now I'm quite tall. I'm 5'8.5", 5'9". And he was like, no, let's go to the park. Let's do our usual circuit. And I said, I can't do it. I'm very, very tired, honestly. He was like, he convinced me, no, it's fine, it's fine. I won't get you to flip any tires. He normally got me to flip tires, tractor tires. So I'd gone out to the back of the Brixton gym, and he said, right, what you're going to do is I'm going to teach you this kickboxing circuit, and you're going to run a lap of the park, and then you're going to do the circuit. And I was like, oh, I don't think I can. Now I would be confident in myself and say, no, I cannot do it. No, I do not want to do it. But I'd just come out of this really crap breakup. I was, whatever. So I just did it. So I did it about 3 times. I ran the park. I did the circuit. And it was something like uppercut, punch forward, roundhouse, kick to the front. All right. And then it got more and more complicated. He added 3 or 4 moves each time. and he had the pads up, and I would run, and it was quite a big park, and I would run the thing, and I would do punch forward, uppercut, punch to the side, whatever, kick forward, roundhouse, whatever, punch, round. And I was getting more and more annoyed. And I was saying, please, I can't, one more time. He was really shouting at me. And about the fourth time I did it, I ran, and I was really tired. I was so tired, and I ran, and he went, come on, Maddy, come on. And I went, okay. And he went, uppercut, whatever. And I went, punch, uppercut. And it was really fast by this point. And he was like, kick forward, roundhouse, whatever. And I kicked forward. And then I was like, oh, I can't do it anymore. And I saw this thing fly up in the air. And I was looking at it. And I was like, oh, it was weird. What was that? And I was on my knees. And as I looked up at him, I realized he had his hands to his face. And out of his hands, there was blood coming out of his hands. And I was like, oh my God, what's happened to you? And what I'd done inadvertently was that I had done a roundhouse kick when I was meant to do a punch, and I had kicked his front tooth out. But I didn't know. So as he's like there like this, he's like, oh, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. What happened? And he moves, and he had two quite big front teeth, and he had a very big gap in where his tooth was meant to be, and his tooth was right in front of us on the floor. And I was like, I am so sorry. I didn't mean. And he's like, you could have just told me you wanted to stop. And I was like, well, to be fair, I did tell you I wanted to stop. Anyway, he picks his tooth up, and he's walking towards, he's very angry with me, and he's like, you're going to pay for my dentistry work, this is your fault. And I was like, well, you should have had insurance. And so I spent a very weird 2 months negotiating with a gym in Brixton as to why I should not have to pay £500 for his dentistry work for kicking out a man's tooth that I really didn't mean to do, when he should have got insurance. So there we go, Jeff, and that's my story.
Yeah, but he was very insistent that you go and do it in the field. You didn't even really want to do it, do you?
Well, I didn't want to do it. I told that story I did a TV show with Vanessa Feltz, and I told that story. They asked us a sort of similar thing to come up with a story, and Vanessa Feltz, who is a lovely woman, but I obviously had to tell the producer what my story was first. And Vanessa Feltz, in fact, I think it's somewhere online, was over there looking at me completely aghast at my story like this, and then for the rest of the show just couldn't comment, because all she kept thinking of was me kicking out a man's tooth. And I didn't mean to. I'm not a violent woman, must I say. I'm a pacifist.
Scary story. Well, I'm going to show you a lot more respect, I think, from now on, now that we know that you've got a bit of a record with this sort of thing. I just want to talk a bit about the Edinburgh Fringe, because Maddy, you should have been there, and Claire, you've been there many times. Shelley, you've been there many times. So when did you find out, Maddy, you weren't going to be able to go because of the virus?
So I was about to do my 5th one-woman show, which was called How to Train Your Psychopath, which was my personal journey through a coercive control relationship, which I partnered with Women's Aid on. We were doing a podcast series for Spotify. It was a comedy, but it was about my experience of getting trapped in cycles of controlling relationships and coercive control, and a subject I care very deeply about that has affected me for most of my life, really, my dating life certainly. And we were filming a celeb, let's just say celeb packed show with ITV for that, and then overnight I lost another TV job. I lost that. I lost 50k sponsorship, and I lost a 27 date tour, and my Edinburgh show at Underbelly. It was going to be at Underbelly this year, but I have just got a literary agent, and I'm just at the moment writing my debut book on the same thing about coercive control, which I'm partnering with Women's Aid on. So it's a kind of funny personal account of, I had a very brilliant meeting with Sally Challen, the exceptional woman that she is, and we spoke all about that and about my experiences. So that's what is going into that book.
Brilliant. Well done getting an agent in lockdown. Shelley, now you've been a veteran of many Edinburghs. When did you first go to the Edinburgh Fringe?
I think it was 2002. and I did 4 in a row and then had a year's gap. But no, and I just decided in the end it wasn't the life for me, really. The last one I took to Italy, did a week in Rome and then a week off Broadway, and it was all very good. But I loved comedy when I was on stage. I hated everything else about it.
Yeah, with you on that.
And
Yeah,
I
all
think,
travel and stuff.
I think
What
anyone
is it?
who's done it can maybe empathise with that. But anyway, and I just felt, for me, I enjoy speaking at conferences and seminars and things more. So that's where I put my energy now, really.
And what does everyone think about doing comedy on Zoom? It's quite tough,
Well,
isn't it? Because you can't hear the audience laughing.
Well, I've got my first proper one that you gave me, actually, Jem, next week. But I did some at the beginning, but I've got quite real with myself since lockdown about actually what I enjoy doing. And I think that having gone through the abusive relationship that I did, I think I was trying to prove myself to someone else rather than just do it for myself. So I did a lot of stand-up just because I needed that validation. I'm not saying that's why everyone did it. That's why I did it. And so I've sort of reframed the way I look at things. And so actually the book and being a speaker for Facebook and The Guardian and Albright has changed the way I look at comedy. So I think doing comedy on Zoom is perhaps like, I'm looking, I have, they're fine, that's what you've got to do, but I don't like the lack of response from audience. I find it quite already.
See, for me, it's the same. It's the same for me.
You beat me to it, and I was going to say that as well. I'm quite used to silence.
It's for me. It's just a regular gig. I'm not hearing any laughter. It's been the story of my life. But what is funny was when I rang Maddy up and said, Maddy, I've got this comedy gig, and they said, can I recommend somebody else? And I've recommended you. She went, oh no, Jem, no. I've just signed with a literary agent. I'm a writer now.
That's not what I said.
I don't want to do it, Jem. And I said, well, it's this much money. And he went, oh, well, what date is it?
Yeah, that is not what I said.
Yeah.
Siding with the white man. That's not what I said. I said, Jem, I hate doing Zoom live stand-up comedy. It's awful. It's there's something about it when you cannot relate to people. And then later on you went, oh, it's a shame it's this much money. And I went, oh, hold on a minute, Jem, I'm moving to Brighton. That could buy me a sofa. Why didn't you come in with that first? And he said, oh, let's do the conversation again. And he did it again. And I said, okay, fine, I'll do it.
Perfect. Okay.
I'm thinking about doing a stand-up set, actually. Been thinking about the last few months.
What's it going to be about?
Dating.
Ah, you've been doing a bit of online dating during lockdown, have you?
Online dating, yeah. I had started dating 2 weeks before lockdown, so I'd been out for a couple of dinners, and then lockdown happened, so that stopped all of that.
It's safer online. You can't, much safer online. You know where you are.
Yeah, I would think that
It's
there's advantages
anyway
on
Zoom, isn't it? If you do comedy on Zoom, it's sit-down comedy. You're not standing up. You're just sitting in a chair, telling a few gags. I don't know if that would work for me. Who knows?
That's like Corbett, isn't it? It's a different. It's not live.
Corbett, are you talking about the great Ronnie
live,
Corbett?
But it's like he used to sit there and tell stories. Like
Claire, the guy that you were seeing before lockdown, have you had virtual dates with him in lockdown?
Yes.
And how's that been? Like, have you got yourself, like, is it so you saw the guy 2-3 times before lockdown?
It's weird. I'm not just dating one guy, so I have been dating more than one guy virtually.
Good.
And it's very strange because you start having the text communication first, and then eventually it will go to a call. And then what happens is, because you can't then meet, it's like it stalls, and then you start getting bored because it's weird, because you until you meet somebody, you don't know whether there's actual chemistry or whatever, and it's just weird. So I've got about 5 people that are in this holding pattern that every once in a week or whatever we'll have a little text chat, and it's like, hopefully lockdown will finish and then we can meet. But it's kind of like we can't develop the relationship any further because we've done as much as we can online. So
I
it's
got dumped in lockdown.
Well,
Oh.
I've been, I was dumped as well. Yeah.
We dumped on.
I quite fancy online dating, but my partner wouldn't be too keen, I don't think.
No.
Try out ethical non-monogamy, Shelley.
Go
Is that
for it.
right?
Yeah. So if you dumped on Zoom, I think it's called Zumped, isn't it? If you get dumped on Zoom.
But it wasn't. I wasn't zumped. It was just more. There was surrounding issues. But I think it's a very weird. Claire, I don't know if you agree with me. It's a very weird time to be dating. Like people are.
Yeah.
Everyone is. I think in just and naturally, of course, in a very strange, place right now. And that's why I'm off the apps now. I'm not deliberately not doing it. And I have people coming out the woodwork, but I'm like, I'm just going to hold off.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
You didn't know it was going to be group therapy tonight, Jeremy, did you?
Well, look, the online communication is great up to a point.
Yeah.
But if you want it to develop further, you need to meet somebody in real life. Although technically you can go for a social distancing walk now with somebody not in your household. So if you're 2 meters apart, I might start doing that in the next few weeks.
You might get lucky, Claire. One of the 12 people watching this show tonight might be the one.
Yeah.
I'll have you know the figures for this show. It's a YouTube sensation, and they're phenomenal. But I do think it does sound quite romantic, Claire. I think for me the romantic thing you said was that there's a holding pattern of about 5 people. For me, I thought that's we say romance is dead, but there's a holding pattern, and that sounds lovely. So I was actually an early adopter of online dating.
Me too.
Yeah, 2000.
Okay, you were, Jim.
2002. Round about the time Shelley was doing her first Edinburgh Fringe, I was on Match.com. But in those days, you told people you're doing it, they thought you were in like chat rooms and it was all really seedy or something. But whereas now it's the accepted way to meet your partner. And that's where I met my wife. But before I met her, I met some right weirdos. And there was one woman, and she was very mysterious. And in all of the online conversation and then the phone call, she said, I've got a very, very strange job, but I can't tell you what it is. And I had it in my head that she might be a spy. And so, it sounded very intriguing. So I went to meet her, and we went to this pub that I always went to for my dating on Borough High Street. I had very strict guidelines. I would buy 1 drink, they would buy 1 drink, and then we would leave. And then if I liked them, I would text them saying, yes, I will see you again. It was like a holding pattern I had. It's very romantic. And so anyway, this woman
is quite touching, really.
This woman just could drink so much. So she had a pint of Lowenbrau, which is that really strong German Pilsner lager. And then I just had a normal sized drink, half.
Shandy.
Yeah. And then she bought another drink because I wasn't drinking quick enough. And so by the time I'd had 2 halves of lager shandy, she'd had 4 pints of strong German lager. And then she revealed what her interesting job was. She was a tube driver on the district line. She drove a tube train on the district line. That's what I thought. Not even one of the good ones. The district line. It wasn't, if it'd been the Jubilee, I thought, well, that was quite exciting. But the district line.
Drink 4 pints of
did she tell you why?
Did she tell me why? What?
It'd be a secret. She thought it should be a secret.
I think it was just embarrassment.
Well, you would.
Why? I dated someone who was a tube driver. There's no shame in that.
No,
it would be if you drunk 4 pints of Lowenbrau and then you got behind the whatever it's called. It's not the wheel, is it?
The
dead woman's handle, or whatever it's called. Yeah.
Anyway,
it's good. It's good to know,
braking system. Yes, we don't
good
quite
to know that you've got so much finesse when you date, Jeremy. I think it's just quite heartening.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Anyway, we're over.
We're out of time. All right, I was going to tell you another dating story.
Go on then. But it better be good because we're running over time. And
now there's too much pressure now.
I just don't want people to know I've got that free Zoom account that after 40 minutes, everyone just. Yeah, go on.
So I was quite an early adopter for dating as well, and getting back into online dating was the first time in nearly a decade. And the last time I did online dating was before smartphones. It's changed now. You do all this swiping stuff. It's hilarious. But we had chat rooms on the dating site that was on. So I was living in Dublin, and it was another friend.ie. And used to have group chat, not sex chat rooms, but like conversational social chat rooms, like where you'd hang out with other people that were dating. And then we'd have these meetups. So I went to this one meetup and we were sat chatting around. There was 3 or 4 people were talking away, and we were sharing experiences about that we'd had in meeting people in online dating. It turned out that 3 of us that were sitting chatting had exactly the same experience with the same guy. So the stories he told were exactly the same. And it was just that was the first revelation that I had of, realizing that not everybody online is telling the truth.
No, but I suppose if you're a stand-up comic, once you've got 20 minutes, you just repeat that, don't you, for a year? You tour with it.
That's what this guy had been doing. It's like, the whole sequence. It's like, oh my God, I had exactly the same conversation. Oh my God. And it was the same guy. It was hilarious.
No, but it's like when journalists interview comics and they go, so how much of your material is different from night to night? No, it's exactly the same every time. I really worked to get that 20 minutes, and that's what he'd done. Listen, we're out of time because otherwise my free Zoom account is going to expire. I haven't got a free Zoom account. But thank you so much for joining us. Now, I'd give all my guests a chance to plug something. So, Maddy, do you want to go first? You've got something to plug?
Not really. You can follow me on Twitter, though, at Maddy_Anholt, or my Instagram is at Maddy Anholt.
Okay. And Shelley, do you want to plug something?
I'm not going to plug anything. I'm going to be very different. People can track me down if they want to talk to me, but I'm not going to plug the things. I think it's taking advantage, really, Joe. I mean, I'd hate to do that with you because you're so generous.
Okay. What sort of chat show guests are you? Please, Claire, do some plugging.
You can book me for your live event. I'll speak anywhere. I'm particularly keen on going back to Dubai because my big gig was cancelled there. But while I'm here, I help people with their marketing. So if you need help with your marketing, not sure what to say, not sure how to create a good strategy with the resources you actually have, not what you wish you had, give me a shout. I can help.
Fantastic. I was going to do that big gig in Dubai as well, wasn't I? But it was going to be
it was going to be brilliant.
A road
we
trip.
Would hang out in the green room, man.
Yeah, and it was going to be great, but then it all got cancelled. Like everything in life has been cancelled. Listen, thank you so much for being my guest. It's been brilliant. I didn't even mind you ganging up on me. It reminded me of my childhood. 3 women just having a go at me constantly. So it was lovely. You can find out about me at jeremynicholas.co.uk. But from us tonight, goodbye.
Goodbye.